Hello everyone and welcome to the Ticker.com's news channel on YouTube. On this channel, we review stock markets and discuss financial news, market trends, and economic data from Wall Street to Global Street. So let's dive in. We begin our review of global economy with key releases in the US, Europe, China, and Japan. World markets extended weekly gains as investors continue to believe that major central banks are laying the groundwork for lower interest rates. Benchmark indices in the US, Europe, Japan, and Hong Kong rebounded and extended this year's gain to double digits and closed higher for the third week in a row. The US markets managed to stay above the flat line after consumer sentiment dropped to a 6-month low. European markets led the world markets with a rise of more than 3% and inched further in record zone after the Bank of England held its base rate steady at a 16-year high and conditionally supported the rate cut in the summer. In Asia, China's international goods and services trade balance rose to $72.3 billion. Exports rose 1.5%, but imports advanced at a faster pace of 8.4%, lifting base commodity prices in the hopes of higher demand. Germany's seasonally adjusted goods exports rose 1.2%, and imports fell 3%, resulting in a trade balance increase of nearly 20% to 22.3 billion euros. Japan's market traded at a one-month high, and the yen remained under pressure after the real wages declined for the 27th month in a row in March. Let us review key events in global bond, currency, and commodity markets last week. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury hovered near 4.5% after jobless claims rose to an 8-month high and consumer sentiment fell to a 6-month low. Crude oil prices fell below $79 a barrel after traders weighed the outlook for OPEC production cuts against the U.S. demand amid falling consumer sentiment. Natural gas prices reached a 4-month high of $2 per unit on the expectations of robust demand over the next 2 weeks. Natural gas prices in Europe fell below 30 euros per megawatt hour as demand lagged on elevated storage levels in Europe. The euro edged higher to $1.08 amid worries of diverging rate paths between the US and Europe area. The yen rebounded to 156 against the US dollar as traders reacted to the summary of the Bank of Japan's April policy meeting, where participants discussed scenarios that could require higher interest rates. We now shift our attention to major stock markets in the US, Europe, and Asia. The S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq Composite extended gains for the third week in a row after investors stayed focused on corporate results and worried that rates may stay higher than previously estimated despite the moderating job market conditions. European markets extended gains for the third week in a row as investors rooted for a rate cut after the Bank of England held its base rate at 5.25% and supported a conditional rate cut in the summer. The Nikkei 225 stock average traded at a one-month high and tracked gains in New York after real wages declined for the 27th month in a row in Japan. Hong Kong indices traded at an 8-month high after the Hong Kong Stock Exchange said new listing applications soared to 100 after regulators announced supportive measures last month. Indian market indices declined on valuations worries, and national elections reaching the halfway mark also caused some jitters. Let us shift our attention to merger deals, market movers, and earnings update from leading companies last week. Akamai Technologies decreased 9% after the internet infrastructure company estimated weaker than expected second quarter earnings. Iveco Group advanced after the Italian truck and bus maker reported better than expected quarterly results. International Consolidated Airlines Group advanced after the parent companies of British Air and Iberian Air said the company is well positioned for the summer travel. CRH gained 5% after the UK-based building materials provider reaffirmed its annual outlook. Novavax soared more than 100% after the company announced a multi-billion-dollar deal with Sanofi to co-commercialize its COVID vaccine starting next year. Uber Technologies struggled after the company reported a loss in its latest quarter. Airbnb dropped 8% after the short-term rental platform operator reported better than expected first quarter results, but the company's second quarter revenue growth outlook fell short of investors' expectations. ARM Holdings declined 6% after the advanced chip designer estimated lower than expected full-year revenue to range between $3.8 billion and $4.1 billion. Warner Brothers Discovery declined 4% after the media company reported weaker than expected quarterly results. Banco de Sabadell jumped 4% after BBVA proposed a €12.2 billion hostile takeover of the Spanish bank, roiling the state banking world of Spain. BAE Systems rose after the defense contractor reiterated its fiscal year 2024 outlook and delivered strong performance in the year so far. In the week ahead, investors in the U.S. are looking forward to the release of consumer and producer price inflation, retail sales, housing starts and permits, and industrial production reports. In addition, earnings results from Walmart, Cisco, Deere & Company, and Applied Materials are awaited by investors. In Europe, investors are looking forward to the release of GDP and industrial production in the euro area and jobs report in the UK. In Asia, China is scheduled to release its industrial production, retail sales, housing prices, and unemployment rate. Japan is likely to show a contraction in its first quarter GDP. India is expected to release its international trade balance and April's consumer price inflation report. You can review daily U.S. and global financial market news, stock movers, earnings releases, SEC filings, and economic updates on ticker.com and 123jump.com. You can find the latest financial books on redera.com, keep up with financial industry events on eventsinamerica.com, review ETF and mutual fund performance and in-depth profiles on tickerfunds.com, and review market updates and stock movers in India on niveshak.in. That is all for today, and we will see you next